Welcome back to part 2. Let's do the player object. The first thing we want to do is we're going to create some controls for movement. So we select the key down for the left, right, up and down. We're going to use the arrow keys. Now here we're going to use the movement tools here, actions here, movement actions. Now before we do that, let's add a create tool and assign a variable. We call it mag for magnitude, and we assign it a value of 1. This is something that is going to correct we're going to use this to correct our diagonal movement, which will be faster when you're using the arrow keys. So we're going to make the diagonal movement the same as the vertical and horizontal movement. So going to the left key, what we're going to do is we're going to check the position of the aircraft before we move it. So now we are going left. We're going to check whether the left position of the aircraft is not outside the screen. We're going to check the x value and see whether it's not greater than or equal to 32, which is the center point of the aircraft or the player's aeroplane. If this is true, we are going to move it, and the movement we're going to use is the jump to a point and drag it over here. Remember, the blue is lighted up here at the side and not underneath. If this is true, then it will do this. You want it to jump by 3 pixels. That's -3. To the left is -3, to the right is +3. And it will be relative to the last position it is on. There will be no movement for Y. Likewise, for the right, you will do the same thing, but it will be a +3. Now, this is where we're going to correct the diagonal, and we're going to do that by multiplying by the value of mag. Now, by using Pythagoras theorem, I've calculated the value of mag to be 0.7 if the plane is moving diagonally. So let's say this is you can call it the magic number. Now this applies only when the vertical and horizontal movement are of the same value, and that value we will use is 3 pixels in either way. So now let's do the key down for the right. And since we are here, might as well do for the rest of the key downs for the up and key down for the down arrow. So we have done this here. All you have to do is just copy this, and for the right, paste it here. Naturally, we will not be having the same values here. For example, the right, that is going to be, the value here is going to be your room width, right? -32. And change this to less than or equal to, because it has to be less than your room width -32. So your jump will be a +3 because you're moving to the right times your magnitude or mag. Likewise, for the up and down, you can copy this, go to your up, paste it, and because we are moving vertically, it's the Y. So going up, it has to be check for greater than or equal to 32. And since you're going upwards, it's going to be, you can copy and paste. It's going to be a negative since it's moving up vertically. And your x will be a 0. Now we can copy this, go to the down key, paste it. Now here, you're looking at the room height, so it's got to be less than the room height minus 32. Now since you are moving downwards, it's going to be a positive. Positive 3 times max. Alright, so next we do the step event. Now in the step event, what we are trying to do is we're going to decide whether the player is pressing both the vertical and horizontal keys. That means he'll be moving diagonally. If he's moving diagonally, we change mag to 0.7. If he's moving left or right or up or down, that means pressing one key, the value of mag is going to be 1. We have to start off with a condition. We have to check. In this case, we won't be using this, we will be using this if expressions, because we're going to check two things along the x and along the y. Now, there's something called the y previous, that means the previous y position. So you're going to compare the existing y position and the previous y position and see whether it is not equal to 0. That will detect the movement along the y. You do the same thing for the x. So what you're going to do here is you're going to check y minus the y previous position this one over here, and check whether it's not equal to 0. Okay, this will show you the result of this. If it's more than 0, it means it moved along the y. Now you have to check whether it moved along the x. We add another expression here. By the way, this helps you to put in another expression here. We do the same thing. Copy and paste it there. But we just change the y's to x. So now here we detect movement for both x and y. If there's movement for both x and y, that means both keys are being pressed, the vertical and horizontal keys are being pressed. We'll assign a variable of 0.7 to max. If it's not, then we'll just leave it as 1. So we go for the else statement. Just copy this, paste it here, and notice that this position is wrong if you paste it here. It comes directly underneath. It should be to the side. And we change this to a 1. Now let's play this and we'll have up movement, down movement, left, right, horizontal, diagonal, see? And the good part of this is you're moving diagonally at the same speed as you're moving left, right, up and down. Now here's a problem with the down. The plane is not moving in relation to the island. That's not realistic enough. It's stationary. So what we're going to do is we are going to reduce the down not to 3 but to something slightly smaller, like 2.5. We play it again, and the plane will appear to be moving forward at a slower speed. Alright, I'm slowing down now on the down key, and the plane is still appearing to move forward. Unlike some games, the plane flies backwards when you press the down key, which is not quite correct, okay? It is still moving forward, but at a slower speed. If you have not done the bullet yet, I suggest you do it, okay? Try and do all the sprites that we'll be needing, and this is the list of sprites. I forgot to tell you about setting your room speed to 60. Okay, let's open up a new workspace, go down to options, main, and here you change the value to 60. Apply and OK. Now, a fast way to make more islands is to duplicate 1 and 2. So just drag one of them over, change the image to the next one. The rest is the same for the events and actions because they'll be moving at the same speed. You can close this, drag the next one over, and just change the image, and you got 3 islands. And you can go into your room, and you can just drag out your islands. Sorry, wrong layer. Go to your layer island. There's nothing wrong in putting in a different layer, but it's better to be a bit neat in this area, so you know which layer to go to when you want to make adjustments. And another island somewhere here. Now let's go back to this part, the bullets. Alright, a word about the bullets. Now if you have made your sprite, let's have a look at your sprites. Check your collision mask. It should be like this. Select manual and just make this a bit shorter. You don't need to be so long, so that only this part of the bullet is involved with the collision process. And you make sure that your origin is at the center, so click somewhere here. So when the bullet moves, it moves along at this point heading forward. Alright, so we are good with the bullets. Now let's make a bullet object. So for the bullet sprite, changes to O layer bullet. Notice always that the sprites and the name of the object, they are the same, but the O and the S represents which is a sprite and which is an object. I like to keep it that way so it's much more easier to identify them within the code for the drag and drop. Alright, for the bullet, it's going to be very simple. When you create the bullet, when the bullet is created, you just want to give it a speed. That's all. So we go to movement actions here, select this one, set speed. Now here you have three choices. You use vertical because you want the bullet to move upwards, straight upwards when it's being fired. And give it a speed of -6. Negative because it is moving upwards. If it was the other way, moving downwards, like the enemy plane is going to shoot down at you, then it's going to be a positive number with vertical. When bullets are shot, they will go outside the room, and you want to destroy or kill off your objects when they are not in the room, because it takes up a lot of resources on your computer, especially your CPU. So we add an event here. We have such an event under other called outside room, and we just destroy this instance of the bullet and make sure it's self. Normally it's defaulted to self, so it should be okay to go. So that's it for the bullet. Now we can go back to the player and add an event for key down. We use the letter Z. When the player presses Z, a bullet is produced. So what we do here is create an instance of a bullet, and it should be relative to the plane's position, 0, 0. Now if we try that out, there's going to be something very weird happening here. What happened here is the layer on layer instances. Now we don't have any layer called instances, so make sure when you create something, the layer name must correspond to the layer on which you want it to appear. So in this case, I want it to appear on layer player, and make sure that it is within quotes. Lay player. So when we click on play, now what happens here is you got a stream of bullets. This is not what we want. How do you prevent that? What you want to do is have a variable which is on and off. After you fire a bullet, it goes off. Even though you are holding down the Z key, it will not work, or the bullet will not be fired until a certain interval. So to do that, you need a variable, and we will use the variable called can shoot. So in the create event of this, we create the variable. Can shoot, and we set the value as 1, or better still, true. Now we go down to Z. We are going to put a condition here. If can shoot is true, then you shoot a bullet. Then immediately you change can shoot to false. Give it a timer or interval, change it to true, and rinse and repeat. So we're going to put a variable here. Notice again the variable is in line, and this is not what we want. It should be to the side here. So this variable can shoot you're checking it for whether it's true. So if can shoot is true, create a bullet. Right after creating a bullet, say change can shoot to false. Now instead of using true and false, you can use 0 and 1. It's up to you. It's flexible, alright? So 0 will be for false and 1 will be for true. I'm using true and false for tutorial purposes. It looks easier as well. So now, after you assign it false, you can't shoot until it turns true, but you need some sort of a timer, an alarm clock. You set an alarm clock for maybe 15 steps. Okay, an alarm countdown. We are using alarm 0. There's about 12 alarms here. And we set it to 15 steps. Now, if you noticed, this game is running at 60 steps per second. So 15 will be 1/4 of a second, or rather 4 bullets per second. You can always change it to 30 and you'll be firing 2 bullets per second. I'm going to set it at 15. So you set an alarm to count down to 15. Now in the event, you add an alarm which is corresponding to 0. And you change the variable can shoot to true. So can you picture this? You check if it's first, you set it in the beginning or the creation of this object. You set can shoot to true. And when you hit the Z key, because it's true, you produce a bullet. You assign it a value of false. That means it cannot produce a bullet after that, and you set the alarm. So after 15 steps, game steps, it sets off this alarm, and this alarm changes it to true. So even though you got your finger on the Z key, it will not fire until it's true. Then it comes to here again, and it repeats. So let's try it out now. Now that's much better, more realistic. And you can reduce it by increasing the alarm value.